Hello and welcome to this DVD on the 4 Knight F6 variation of the Caro-Kann. My name's Nigel Davies, I'm a Grandmaster and chess teacher from the United Kingdom. The line we're going to look at goes E4, C6, D4, D5, Knight C3, and Knight D2 is possible there as well. So White can do this either way. And in both cases we're going to be taking on E4 and White recaptures. Now this is basically the main line of the Caro-Kann and has been the main line almost ever since the Caro-Kann was invented. In this position Black has got three options, but only two of them have been popular in recent years. Black's played Bishop F5 a lot, he's played Knight D7 a lot, but he has not been playing the move we're going to be looking at, Knight F6. Now there are reasons why this line fell under a bit of a cloud. People didn't like certain treatments by White, but when you look closely at the reasons why Knight F6 was dismissed, you find that he actually has improvements in all of these lines, and it makes Knight F6 very well playable. And you've actually got two different systems here as well. When White takes on F6, then Black can recapture either with the G-pawn, which is the Bronstein-Larsen variation, known for its dynamism because you've got an open G-file here and you're moving your pawns near the centre. And you've also got this line, E takes F6, which is really the Tartakova variation. But it's also been played by Alexander Alekhine, and even Anatoly Karpov was playing this in his youth. Also Viktor Korchnoi has had a number of games with E takes F6. And I think that both of these systems are very interesting, but they involve some slightly unusual plans which may not be familiar to many players of the black pieces. Normally when you play a Caro-Kann, E4, C6, D4, D5, Knight D2 takes Bishop F5, or indeed Knight D7. In both of these we're getting a standard little centre pawn structure where for the most part Black plays to free himself with C5. Now when you play Knight F6, Knight takes F6 and now GF or EF, although you still have this pawn lever with C5 in many cases, you've also got a different range of plans. For example, with the E takes F6 line, then sometimes you can use your F pawn as a battering ram. You've got two of them, remember, so you can charge this one up the board and still have all the pawns in front of your king intact. You can also advance your kingside pawn sometimes with G5 and do a kingside pawn storm. And there's some games in which Black has even done this with his king castle kingside, and once again this is a function of having this nice little grouping of four pawns on the kingside. There are other plans too for Black. It's not to be forgotten that he's got an open E-file here, so sometimes you play F5 and bring this knight to D7 and F6 in order to control centre squares. And sometimes too Black will advance his queenside pawns with B5 and A5. Now we're going to be looking at some games in which these strategies are illustrated, and we're going to be doing this at the start of the DVD, as well as the strategy behind going G takes F6, which is a slightly easier move to understand in many ways. Now when you get this pawn structure, the first thing that is very noticeable is you've got this open G-file, and what this means first of all is that it can become dangerous for Black to castle kingside unless he's also got, say, a bishop on G7 and brings his other bishop to F5 and G6. Now that is a possible plan for Black in this line, and it's something that is often worth considering. But more typically, Black will try and use the G-file for pressure, possibly advances H-pawn up the board, and that may be particularly important if white has played g2 to g3 in order to nullify this pressure on the g file. White may well do that move. And where should we castle with black's king? Well, the obvious place to go is the queen side. So queen side castling, g-file attack, h5, and we must not forget that black has got an e-pawn here, and he can use this to attack the centre with, and if white was to take, he can recapture with his doubled f-pawn. So there are quite a few things going on for black in both of these positions in which he gets a double pawn. The double pawn comes with dynamic compensation. So let's look first of all at some games which show these dynamic possibilities, and then I'm going to take you through the different variations and the different setups white can do, and show you what black should do in answer to each of these. We'll also be looking at the systems that white played, which sent black's knight f6 line under a cloud after both g takes f6 and e takes f6. Black stopped kind of liking the positions he was getting, but there's stuff that he can do, and it looks very playable indeed in both these lines, both e takes f6 and g takes f6.